Okay, welcome back. Um, in the previous section, we managed to create our temperature gauge. If you remember, we created this temperature gauge class, and we managed to draw our customer temperature gauge. So if we can run it and just see where we left off. So this is how our application was since the last time that we created this temperature gauge. So in this section we are going to simulate the sensor reading so that we can see the changes happening in this sensor. We do not have an actual physical sensor, so we are just going to simulate just to prove the concept. So in order to do this, what we are going to do is we are going to create a temperature sensor class. So first thing, we create a new C++ class, this temperature sensor. So this should inherit from a Q object, right? And finish, and then let's include it here, temperature sensor.h temperature sensor cpp. Let's save, wait for it to appear in our project here. All right, there we have it. So okay, what's happening here? Qt creator, it's I think something. All right, let's just include Q object here, include Q object. All right, okay, so now we have our temperature sensor class. So this class is going to represent our sensor. So its main purpose is to provide the sensor reading. So remember, our sensor is going to be giving us a reading of the temperature. So obviously we will need a member which will store that value. So if you recall, we are just using integral values for these readings. So we have our current reading. So all right, so this is going to store the reading from our sensor. So what we also need is a timer, because we're going to be simulating this. So let's include Q timer. So we need a Q timer. Timer. All right. Okay. So if you recall from the previous section, I mentioned as when we did this temperature gauge here, that this maximum temperature and the minimum temperature and current reading, these are going to be supplied by the sensor. So we also need these members in our temperature sensor. So here we need your max temp, minimum temperature, right? So let me just strip this side by side so that we can open the source file here. So we can also all right, let's not worry about all right, let's do the maximum temperature and minimum temperature. Let's just set them here. So the default max temperature is going to be 50, like we did in the temperature gauge class, and this one is going to be the mean going to it's going to be 0. Right, so let's also set the default current temperature, current rating, in fact, to 0. All right, so these are the default values. So what we are going to do is, whenever, so this timer is going to be running after every 2 seconds. It's going to read the temperature value. Okay, so what we need is we need a slot that is going to handle the signal that is going to be emitted after every 2 seconds by this timer. So let's read, let's call this slot read temperature. Okay, let me just look it right there. Okay, so let's press out enter and add the definition. I don't know, my Qt creator, it's kind of misbehaving today. It just right, enter. Okay, there we go. All right, so now that we have our read temperature, so what we're going to do is in our constructor, let's just connect the m timer timeout a signal. So Q timer timeout, right? We are connecting it to this temperature sensor read temperature. All right, so we've made our signal connection here. So whenever there is a timeout, this read temperature will get executed. So now what we need getters and setters for these fields that we have defined here. So if you right click and refactor and go to create getter and setter members, so we're going to create Q properties also, so that we can access these fields from the QML side. Okay, so so you can see, so Qt Creator automatically generates the getters and setters and Q properties for us. So these are the Q properties, and we have our getters and setters here. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go back to our read temperature and see how we are going to do this. So the way we are going to do this, whenever we read the temperature, we are going to simulate this by generating a random number. So let's include a Q random number generator, that one. Okay, so this number that we're going to generate is going to be between 0 and our maximum temperature. So we can set current reading, right? Set current reading to Q random generate global bounded M max temp. Alright, so this is gonna generate a random number between 0 and 50 and assign that number to our current reading. So after every timeout, this is what's going to be happening. Alright, so what we need a way to start the timer and stop the timer. Okay, so we are going to create a toggler function here. So it will just start and stop the timer. Okay, so but we also need another member here to check whether our sensor is active or not. So we are going to be switching off and switching on our sensor. So we can have a field here called active, right? Alright, let's also create properties for this. Right click, refactor, get setters, getters and setters, skill property, not for timer, but for this active field. Alright, so now we have created the getters and setters and the property. So this is going to it is the field that we are going to be using to switch on and off our sensor. Okay, so now that we have that, we need a toggle function. We are going to be using this function from the QML side, so we need to use the macro q invocable void toggle sensor, right? Okay, so this is the method that you're going to be calling. So let's create an implementation for this. Out enter and then add definition. Alright, so here's the definition. So what you're going to do is you're going to check if the sensor is active. You're going to switch it off. So the way that you are going to switch it off is we are going to set active to false, right? Also, what we're going to do is to stop the timer. So the timer can stop, right? Else we are going to set active to true, and we are going to start the timer. Timer dot start. So we are going to put the time out microseconds here. So this is equivalent to 2 seconds. So after every 2 seconds, this sensor is going to run. So when this is called, right, after 2 seconds, after every 2 seconds, it's going to call our read temperature slot here. So it will be calling this. So this what this read temperature is doing is it's just generating a random temperature and setting that to our current reading. So basically this is what our sensor is going to be doing. Okay, so now we have our sensor, and our sensor is doing fine, it's doing okay. All right, so what we need to do now is to export our sensor object to QML like we did. I'm sure you now understand how to export C++ objects to QML. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go to our main, and we include our temperature sensor, right? And then let me close this. Then here we say QML register type temperature sensor. Okay, this is the module is called sensors. Okay, in version 1.0. All right, we call this temperature sensor. Right, so now and we have exported we've registered our temperature sensor component to QML. So now that we have our sensor, we can go to our QML now and import our sensors module. Okay, now so if you recall, right here we placed our temperature gauge here, right here. Okay, so now let's create our temperature sensor object right here, id. Okay, temperature sensor. All right, okay, so here we can also set the maximum temp. If you see, if we say max, because we have created properties for this, you can change the maximum temp from here. You can put it 60, something like that, but we're just gonna leave it at the defaults that we've set. Okay, so our temperature sensor is going to provide the current temperature. If you remember, our temperature gauge, it has a, let's just open, it has a current rating, current rating that we created here. Okay, so we need to set this current rating, but remember we hadn't created the property for this in the temperature key, so we're going to create those properties. So new property for this and this and that. Okay, all right, now we are done. So let's go back to our main. So if you go to temperature gauge, we now have our current reading. So this current reading is going to come from, we are going to bind it to temperature sensor dot current reading, right? Same applies to our maximum temperature sensor dot max temp, and also our min temp is going to be bound to temperature sensor dot min temp, just like that. All right, so now we are done. If we run this, of course nothing is going to, it's just going to be at 0. It's because our current rating, we have, remember we set it to 0, so let's just, yeah, this is it. So it's going to be 0. It's not going to show anything. So let's just change this this reading also here, this temperature reading value here, so that we can see it at 0. So remember, we have our temperature reading text here that we did here, but we had put 25. We have hard coded this one. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove this, and here we are going to say to get the current reading from our sensor. So this will be temperature sensor dot current reading, right? Let's just concatenate it to that. So if we run this now, it's building. Okay, so now you see the value that we're getting now here, it's coming from our temperature sensor. All right, so it's at 0. So what we need to do is, remember the our active property in the temperature sensor is false, so that's why it's at 0. So what we need is, we want to say, if we click this power button, right, it's going to start to simulate. All right, so let's do that. Let's go to our power button, right here, this power button. So what we need is, we need a mouse area, because we are now dealing with the mouse click event. So angles.view parent, right? Okay, and click. So what we want to happen on click, we want toggle temperature sensor. Remember that toggle sensor method that we did in our temperature sensor class. This is the one that we are calling here. So now that we have done this, let's just run it and toggle it to turn the sensor on. Okay, so now we have this. So if we click here, it's now changing here. Okay, so if you can see, it's 38, 12, that it's changing, right? But it's not changing right here. It's not changing in here. So the reason for that is, if we go here in our temperature gauge, right, so we have our paint method, this one, if you recall. So what happens is, whenever changes are made, if you make a change inside here, like we are doing, remember this current reading, this reading height, in fact, it's changing according to the current reading, right? So whenever we do such changes, right, we need to update these changes so that it gets repainted. So in order for this to happen, we need to go to where we are setting the current reading. So right here, set current reading. So we need to whenever we are changing the current reading, we need to update. So after this, we need to call the update function. All right, so now that we have done this, if we run now, we should see our gauge changing. It's building now. Okay, wait for it. All right, okay, I think something is not. Oh, all right, okay, my bad. All right, remember, whenever we start this, it will be it's off. It's off. Okay, so we need to toggle it. All right. Okay, my bad right there. Okay, so as you can see now, our sensor readings are now being visualized in our UI. So this has been the goal for this section. So we have seen that how to link, to expose QML, C++ objects to QML. Okay, so these, the values for that object are bound to this UI right here. So you can see those numbers that are being generated by that random generator that we created, they are affecting our UI. So this is it for today. What we are going to look at in the next section, we are going to look at how to animate. So you can see that this change, it's not smooth, it's just happening instantly. So we need to animate that, and we are also going to be visualizing the on and off states for this power button. So this is it for now. Let's catch up in the next section. Thank you.